Hi, in today's video we're going to take a look at an issue with MPV not being able to play YouTube videos and failing with a forbidden 403 and fragment not found error. So what I'm going to do is actually show you the error that I've been getting occasionally using MPV. So we can see MPV playing a YouTube video, in this case Big Buck Bunny, and failing with a 403 forbidden error and fragment not found. So the issue is that MPV uses yt-dlp in the backend to play YouTube videos. And even with the latest version of MPV and yt-dlp that I have installed on my computer, I'm occasionally getting this error. And what I'm going to do is actually show you a fix for that using a script that I wrote actually a couple of years ago that I've recently updated to work around this issue. Now, the issue actually comes up when you're using yt-dlp occasionally. You'll get this fragment 1 not found error, but then yt-dlp will kick in and actually start to download the video. But the issue is that using MPV with yt-dlp, which is installed by default and used in the back end, it doesn't seem to retry, and basically it fails with this fragment error. So what I'll do is I'll see if I can actually get this to show the error again. Occasionally it works and then sometimes it stops working. So it may start, no, there we go. Okay, so what we'll see is we get this error coming up. So what I did was I created a script called dash-ffmpeg, which is the script I'm showing you on the screen now. Let me just get some tea. And what this does is it actually combines the dash audio and video streams with ffmpeg and then pipes them into MPV to get around the error. So what we have up here is the explanation of the script, the dependencies that are required, which are ffmpeg, MPV, yt-dlp, and awk. We then have the script usage here, so that when you run the script with the -h option or without any arguments, it will actually display this help message here. So if I run dash ffmpeg -h, it will actually show you how to use the script. I need to fix the typo there. Okay, so we then have the error messages, so that if you don't provide an option or you give it the wrong kind of file, it will throw an error message. After that, we have a bit of code that checks the number of arguments passed to the script. So for example, if I run the script without any arguments, say wrong number of arguments passed to the script. Okay, so after that, what we have is the getOps, which checks the options passed to the script. So what you'll see here is -i for the input, and the input is going to be equal to the opt-arg. So what that means is the option that you pass to the argument. So when you run the script with -i and give it a URL, that is the opt-arg, and that is going to be stored in this variable input here, which we're going to be using later on. So what we have down here is the actual function. So this is the function called dash. And what you'll see here, I'll actually just bring that down so it's all on one line. So first of all, we have 3 variables: URL, video URL, and audio URL. So the URL runs a subshell, and what you'll see here is we have yt-dlp -f, and then best video, height under 1080, extension MP4, best audio, extension M4A, and best height under 1080. And what this does is this basically selects video and audio streams at 1080p or lower, to actually play. We then use the -g option, which prints out the URL. We then use the --no playlist option so that it doesn't try and play an entire playlist when you select a URL from a playlist. We then have this input here, and this corresponds to the input variable I just showed you, which is going to be the URL. We then redirect error messages to dev null so that we don't get any errors in the terminal. And then what we have here is video URL and audio URL. And what we're doing, if I just show you, so dash streams will be, I'll just sort of make up a sort of link. So http example.com video URL Okay, this is a simplified explanation of what the streams look like. So with dash streams, they're actually two separate streams. There's an audio stream and a video stream. The video stream comes first, and then the audio stream. So what we need to do is actually get the video stream and the audio stream and store them in separate variables. The reason why we need to do this is because MPV can't play two separate streams. It can't play, you can't give it a video stream and an audio stream and get it to play both of them and have it synced up as a normal video would, play. So what we have here is we're echoing the URL, which the URL is from here. So the URL is taking the input, and what we're doing is we're using awk. And what we're doing is we're grabbing the first line up until the new line character and storing that in video URL. And we're doing the same thing for the audio URL. So what it's going to do, suppose this was the output that we're getting from this command, okay? From the URL, we're getting the video URL and then the audio URL. What awk does is it grabs this first line here and saves it as the video URL. And then it grabs the second line of text after the new line and saves it as the audio URL. So we get the URL, then we split it using awk to get the video URL and then the audio URL. What we then do is we use ffmpeg to actually combine these two streams. So what you can see here is we have, let me zoom this in again. So what we have here is ffmpeg hide banner stat-v panic. And what this does is this suppresses any messages in the terminal. Typically when you run ffmpeg, what you'll see is it will output this big chunk of text here, version built with, and all this stuff. And we don't want that in the terminal when we run the script. So what that does is it suppresses that message with the hide banner and the stats function. What you'll see down here is we've got -i, the video URL, and -i, the audio URL. So what it's doing is it's taking the audio and video URLs that we've grabbed using awk in the previous variables up above. And then what we're doing is we're actually copying those streams. So it's not re-encoding the streams. It's actually just copying the streams without any re-encoding. So it's not going to use the CPU. It's not going to delay actually playing the video. Now, this is the important bit. What we then have is map 0v0 and map 1a0. And what this does is this corresponds to the audio and video stream. So the first stream is the video stream starting an index of 0. The next stream is the audio stream starting at 1. So this copies the two streams and maps them. What we then do is we specify the -f option for Matroska. So this actually, hang on a sec. Sorry about that, just closing the window. So what we're doing here is we're using the -f option to specify a Matroska output, and we're creating a pipe here. So we're piping ffmpeg into a pipe, and you can see the pipe symbol here. We're then using mpv with the dash option here, and what that does is that means standard in. What we then do next is we have the cache option set to 2048, and that's a 2 gig cache. And the reason why we need this is so that it will play without any buffering issues, without any stuttering, and it will ensure that the audio and video remain in sync till the end of the video. The next option we've got down here is --no terminal. So what that means is it's actually not going to spawn a terminal. It's going to just sort of run in the background. We then have the --fs option. This is for full screen, followed by --fs screen equals 1. And what this does is this actually displays the video on your second monitor. So if you've got a laptop plugged into a monitor, it's actually going to display the video on your plugged in monitor. So if you don't want that option, you can change that to 0 or just remove this option down here. And finally, what we have is dash. And what this does is this runs the function that we created up here. So how does this actually work? So what I'm going to do is come across, grab the URL for Big Buck Bunny. And what I'm going to do is, there's two ways we can do this. We can run this in the terminal, dash. So it's dash and then --ffmpeg, if you get my drift. -I, and then the URL in single quotes. So this can be run from the terminal like this. But what you can also do is actually create a keyboard shortcut to run the script without having to use the terminal. So if I come across here, let's get rid of these two. Okay, so I'm using Wayland. I'm using DWL with Wayland, which is a WL roots compositor. And there was a program called wlr-which-key. And what this does is this allows you to create a keyboard shortcut that brings up a heads-up display. In my case, this is bound to Super and Z. And what you'll see in this little heads-up display is I have a series of commands that I can actually activate by pressing a keyboard shortcut. So in this case, I'd press D and it would run the -ffmpeg script. So what you'll see down here is this is the layout for how the script works in wlr-which-key, and you'll be able to modify this to use with any hotkey program, like if you're on GNOME, you can create a keyboard shortcut, or if you're on the Mac, you can do the same thing. So basically the command that we're running here is the path to the script, -ffmpeg, -I, and you'll see here, WL-paste. And what this is This is part of the, I forget the name of the script. Let me have a quick shifty so I can actually remember what the name, WL clipboard, that's it. So on Linux, there is a Wayland clipboard program called WL clipboard, which basically lets you access the clipboard in the terminal. If you're on X11, there is it X input or something? I forget. And on the Mac, it's something like, is it just like paste or something? But anyway, the gist is what we're doing is we're using the clipboard, we're accessing the clipboard so that we can actually just come across to the video, run copy clip, and then actually execute the keyboard shortcut, which is going to access the clipboard. So it's going to take the URL from the clipboard and run it with the script. So as I said, rather than running the script on the command line, which is doable, but it's a bit of a pain. You have to, dash-ffmpeg -i single quote paste end single quote. That's a bit of a pain every time you want to run this. So what this looks like is I copy the URL, and what I'm going to do is actually run the wlr-which-key and play the video. So I run super Z, and I can now press D. And what I'm going to do is switch across to the monitor, and this should kick in a second. There we go, big butt bunny. And if I just come across here, what you'll see is the cache. So you can see the cache is filling up here because we got a 2 gig cache. And this will play the whole video sort of without any issues, no buffering. Yeah, I'm just going through the video here. Okay, so you get drift. I'll just switch back to the laptop over here. So again, the issue seems to happen intermittently. Sometimes MPV will work, sometimes it won't. So let me try. It may now work, or I may get the error again. See, now it's working. So it's now actually playing. So as I said, this is an intermittent issue that comes up. Sometimes what happens is MPV will actually play, but then sometimes what will happen, as I said, is you'll get this error, as I showed you before. So it's really hit and miss if you actually get the error. Let's try it with Blender film. Let's see. Come up with okay. There was another one. Yeah, Elephant's Dream. Elephant's Dream. Okay, see if I can get this to throw the error. Yeah, see, there you go. It's kicking in again. I'll show you --no config. Show you that it's not an actual error with the config file. It may now work again. Let's just check. No, see, we're not actually playing the video here. So it's not an issue with my config. It's just if I run it again, it may actually kick in. Let's see. No. All right, so I'll show you this on the command line now. So you get the idea. dash-ffmpeg -I. And what I'll do is I'll play that and switch across. There we go. That should kick in a second. Okay, you can see that's playing. It's a good little short film, this. I'll just zoom ahead. I'll click that now. So let me just switch back to the laptop. Okay. So this is the config.yaml for wlr-which-key, which, as I said, is the heads-up display that I'm using here, so that I can just simply copy the URL like this, or if you're using the Vimium extension in Firefox, I think it's YF. So YF, you can press AK and it will yank the URL to the clipboard, and you can then run your keyboard shortcut to actually play the video. Sometimes the Vimium thing to copy the keyboard shortcut doesn't always work, can be a bit hit and miss. So that's why I typically just come across, copy link, and then basically run Control-Z, and then press D for dash-ffmpeg, and it'll execute the script. So that's just an issue I've come across with ytdlp and mpv. And if I come across here, ytdlp -- version, this is the latest version, 2025-08-22. But as I said, ytdlp will throw the 403 error and the fragment not found error, but then it will kick in and actually start downloading the video. But as I said, the issue is with mpv, it doesn't keep checking. Once it finds the error, it just times out and stops playing. And as I said, this is just an intermittent issue that happens sometimes. I was going to record the video earlier in the day, but then suddenly mpv started working. So I thought, oh, the issue's fixed magically somehow, even though I haven't updated anything. But then I got the error again. So I just wanted to share the script with you to get around that issue. So again, we've got the script usage, the variables, get ops, and this is the important bit. I'll just zoom out again, just to recap. So we get the URL. And what I've also noticed is YouTube also uses a different format, WebM, which is like Opus and I forget what the other stream's called. And what I found is using the Opus streams, sometimes what would happen is the audio would actually cut out before the end of the video. So that's why I'm specifying using an MP4 and MP4A streams, which seem to perform better. And as I said, what I've got here is the height. So when you copy the URL, it's only going to play a 1080p video or under. So example, if you try and play a 4K video with MPV, sometimes even if you've got a lot of RAM, it actually won't work. Even though it'll work in the browser, sometimes when you try and play a 4K video and stream it with MPV, you'll get errors and it just won't play. So that's why I've set this to use 1080p or lower. If you're on a low-powered machine, you can change this to 720. And again, we have the cache set here to 2 gig. Another issue can be, as I said, I occasionally got the audio cutting out before the end of the video. And I found that setting a 2 gig cache was enough. But if you're having issues, you can actually increase the cache size depending on the amount of RAM you've got. And again, the way this works, we grab the URL, we grab the first chunk of code up to the new line, which is the video URL. The next chunk of code is the audio URL. We then give those to ffmpeg with the -i option. We copy the streams. We use the map option. We then create a Matroska output because Matroska can actually handle any kind of streams you throw at it, as opposed to some other formats. We then explicitly use the pipe option here with ffmpeg. The pipe symbol, we pipe it into MPV with the dash option here, which means standard in. So MPV is taking all of this code from ffmpeg, this command rather, and then playing it. So we're basically using ffmpeg to combine the audio and video streams and pipe them into MPV. And as I said, the reason for that is because MPV can't play separate audio and video streams. We then set the cache, no terminal, full screen, and full screen 1 to display it on your second monitor. If you don't want that, you can just change that to 0. If you don't want full screen, you can just remove that whole line. And finally, we have the function down here. So dash is basically just running this function. So I hope that helps out. I'll put links to all this under the video. As I said, I did this a couple of years ago when I had a similar kind of issue. But what I've done is actually tweak the code a bit to improve it by specifying these options for yt-dlp to use the height option and the MP4 and M4A extensions to get the H.264 AAC stream, which seems to work better than the Opus streams, which sort of gave me a few issues. I said we grab the URLs, join them up with ffmpeg, pipe it into MPV, and I played this on videos up to like 20 minutes or so, and there's no issues with buffering, no issues with the audio cutting out, and it actually, in my opinion, works better than using MPV on its own when it's working. Sometimes MPV, what will happen is it will actually stop midstream when you're trying to play a YouTube video, which is kind of really annoying. So this is just a fallback option for when the MPV is giving you issues not being able to play YouTube videos. So I'll put a link to this under the video and hope that helps out.